Hi, I'm Christian.
And I'm Dan. And today we're looking at ways that we can live differently.
Yeah, and we're not talking about getting more attention or showing how good or smart we are. We're talking about getting closer to Jesus. And we know that as we do, we'll look at things differently and also live differently.
Exactly. Let's check out today's God story.
Best thrift store find ever. This is my ceramic cat, Patrice, AKA the watch cat, because wherever you are in my apartment, his eyes are always looking directly at yours. Hey everyone, my name is Liza. I'm so glad to be back with you, and I'm really excited about this series that we're about to start on the book of James. But first, I'm gonna share a story with you. Do you guys know what a thrift store is? It's a store that sells secondhand items, so household things or clothing that people don't want anymore, but I love going there because when I look through, they're treasures for me. I love shopping at thrift stores. Now, some of my friends think I'm crazy because I'm always in and out of secondhand stores, but I love it. I love that I get to find things that are really unique and different, whether it's clothing or whether it's stuff from my home. I found some really awesome items, including my amazing ceramic cat collection. I'm not exactly sure how my cat BB feels about my cat collection. Sometimes I think she gets a little jealous, but I love it anyway. But when my friends started seeing some of the really cool stuff that I was finding, then they started shopping at thrift stores too. And that gets me thinking to what we're talking about today, how when we follow Jesus, sometimes the decisions that we make in our life might seem a little different to other people, maybe even strange. But that's because we don't live for ourselves, we live for God, and that is different. And that leads me to today's big idea, that living for Jesus means living a different way. A while after Jesus went to heaven, his half-brother James, same mom, different dad, wrote a letter to Christ followers who were scattered throughout different towns and cities because of persecution. Persecution means people were treated poorly because of their faith. This letter became known as the Book of James in the Bible, or simply James. James wrote this letter to encourage them to actually live their lives as Christ followers and not just talk about it. James starts his letter like this. I, James, am writing this letter. I serve God and the Lord Jesus Christ. I am sending this letter to you. It's kind of like when you write a letter or an email to someone for the first time and you want to start by introducing yourself. Like, hey, my name's Liza, I live in Port Credit, and I love ceramic cats. James goes on to encourage his readers that even when troubles come their way, they should be joyous, because when our faith is tested, God will give us strength to continue. He goes on to say that we should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I'm not usually quick to listen and slow to speak. In fact, sometimes I'm the opposite. Like in those moments when you're feeling so upset about something and then you just blurt out how you feel, thinking that it's gonna make you feel better, but about 5 seconds later you feel so much worse. And that's what James is talking about. We should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Let's see what else James writes about. Suppose you listen to the word but don't do what it says. And then you are like a man who looks at his face in a mirror. After looking at themselves, they leave. Right away, he forgets what he looks like. Imagine you did that. You looked at yourself in the mirror, checked out your hair, and then immediately after, you forgot what you look like. That'd be unbelievable, right? Well, James is saying it's like that when we read the Bible, learn God's way, and then don't actually do what it says. When we don't love, care for others, encourage others, it's like forgetting what we look like. It's completely silly. Don't just listen to God's word, do what it says. In other words, don't just sit there nodding your head up and down in agreement to what I'm saying, and then live exactly like every other person you know every day of the week. As Christ followers, we are called to live differently, because living for Jesus means living a different way. He then writes, here are the beliefs and way of life that God our Father accepts as pure and without fault. When widows are in trouble, take care of them. Do the same for children who have no parents, and don't let the world make you impure. In other words, care for those who don't have others to care for them. Love well, and don't get pulled into the things that tempt the rest of the world. In James chapter 2, he goes on to write that we shouldn't show favoritism and we should love everyone as we love ourselves. So what does that mean for you and me? It means maybe when your friends are being mean to someone, you're the one who steps in and stands up for that person instead. Or when you tell someone that you're gonna pray for them, that you actually do it. It means being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And I know for me it means in those moments when I'm feeling really emotional, instead of just blurting out how I feel, I'm gonna stop, take a deep breath, let God in, because I know when I do that, He's gonna help transform the way I view the situation. Remember at the beginning when I told you how at first first, my friends thought I was crazy for shopping at thrift stores. But then when they saw all the cool things I was finding, they started shopping at thrift stores too. Well, when we follow Jesus, sometimes we make decisions that other people might find strange or different. But this kind of living different will make people wonder why. And when they ask you, you can tell them, because living for Jesus means living a different way. All right, everyone, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I'm really excited to see you again next week. Take care.
Turn to the person next to you.
And answer the following question before the time runs out.
Question time. When we live for Jesus, we don't say, me first. We put God and others first. How can you apply that in your life?
Whoa, it's strange to think that if we listen to what Jesus says but don't do it, it's kind of like seeing our reflection but forgetting what we look like.
Yeah, and it's strange to think that anybody would forget what they look like. But what's important is that we live our lives in such a way that others see Jesus through our lives.
Yeah, let's take a look at Stephen's life story and see how he made the conscious decision to live differently. Watch this.
When I dance, I feel free. I feel alive, and I just feel kind of connected to myself and just to the world around me. So my name is Stephen Tacker. I love sports. I love dogs, and I love musical theater, singing, acting, and dancing. So when I was 11 years old, my family took me to go see Wicked in Toronto, and it was like my first big musical that I saw, and I was just blown away by it, and I knew that's what I want to do. I want to do musical theater. And so over the years, I just did lots of musicals, and now I'm in my third year of music theater performance at Sheridan College. Something that is unfortunate about this industry is that something it asks you to do is kind of become self-centered. But as well as that, sometimes people sacrifice kind of who they are and their core values. I mean, when there's 500 people auditioning for one role, people can get nasty and kind of go against how they were raised and what their morals are. There's a lot of kids right now that just kind of want to be famous. They want to do the singing, acting, and dancing just for the celebrity status that it brings. But for me, I think with the relationship that I've built with God, I know that I'm doing this because this is who God has made me to be. This is the talents He's given me. And it's just my way of being a light to the world and furthering His kingdom. When I'm in a show, yeah, of course you have to promote that character. You promote the show you're in. But deep down, singing and dancing is not who I am. It's just what I do. That show, that character doesn't define you. What defines me is Jesus. I did a show in Charlottetown, PEI last summer, and after the show, fans would come up and just give great feedback and say thank you and what a great job it was. And as a Christian, it's a good thing to just say thank you and be humble. But also know that when they're saying this is great work, they're seeing God's work through you. So as a singer, actor, dancer who's also in love with Jesus, I think I just share everything with Jesus. He's my best friend, you know? We'll just have fun together, and I'll just talk to him about just whatever, the good things, the bad things. When I dance and when I sing and when I act, I feel like I'm praising him, and I want to just give him the glory in that. When I choreograph a dance, it's always the music first. I just listen to it and just see what it does to both my heart, but what it does to my body. Just like how my body wants to move to this music. Recently, I choreographed a dance called The Life Worth Living. It's straight from my heart, and praise to God. So when I dance for an audience, I just feel such a rush. I get adrenaline, yeah, I get butterflies, and I just get really nervous, but it's like a nervous excitement. But when I'm dancing for God, I just feel at peace. I feel free. I just feel alive and that I'm doing what I was made to do.
Question time. Stephen made a conscious decision to put Jesus at the center of his life and use his talents for God. What changes can you make in your own life to live differently because of Jesus?
I really like what Stephen said, that when he's dancing, he feels at peace and free, that he's living into his purpose and he's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's clear that he's using his talents for God's purpose and living differently from what is often seen from some people in the entertainment industry.
Well, let's break into our small groups and see what this looks like in our own story.